What is going on, party people? Welcome back to another video, another day, another dollar, and we're going to be breaking down the ES futures contract once again, as that is the theme here on my channel. Mostly what I trade. Occasionally I'll trade the NASDAQ, but we'll go ahead and dive in today on the 30-minute time frame. Look at what occurred today as buyers and the bulls are trying to put this market back into a balance, or rather they did accomplish that. They did put this market back into a balance. And they're looking to potentially, find some type of consolidation between this, 42 or 4,300 to 4,250 range, essentially. Or if you wanted to expand your range a little bit, 4,300 to 4,200 within this 100-point range, we could definitely see some chopping around, especially. Just depends on how you want to look at it. So you can either say that this market is in a 2-day balance or in a 3-day balance. Either is okay. Today was a very choppy session. Nothing special about it. We opened up right around our 9Y point of control, pushed up right off the open, only to come back in B period back below the open, only to push all the way back up, take out A's high, start one time framing up, and then go and get the high of day, right? I said in yesterday's video, my no-go zone for buying was above basically 4260 to 4280 essentially. I didn't want to be a buyer in this range just because how we failed here yesterday and how we failed back on Friday in this range when we had that set of single prints. We pushed up and then rolled right back over. Same thing yesterday, pushed up, couldn't get back into that upper distribution. Remember, Friday was a double distribution. This area up here that I'm highlighting is the upper distribution. Yesterday, we couldn't get into it by taking back the single prints. Today, we couldn't get into it by taking back those single prints and get into the upper distribution. So I didn't want to be a buyer until we found some type of confirmation above 4280. That was me. And guess what? This market agreed. We rolled over and we back tested the opening. And then later in the afternoon, we finally flushed out. We got too long. This market flushed out, got below the open. We ran some stops and shorts, pushed this market down rather aggressively. We tried going trend up today, only to fail. We tried in B period, failed. Once we got up here and C, put the daily back into a balance. We came in pretty quickly. Paul was talking about how this market might be getting too long, and once those short bids kind of fall out from underneath the market, it should you should see some type of liquidation. That's what we got later in F period, as we ran those stops and shorts just kind of piled on, and then we attempted to go trend down with a set of single prints, a rather large set actually. We pushed down pretty aggressively. Right in here was a set of single prints, and then we continued to drive lower in G period. And this is where I got involved in the market. I didn't do anything up here. I didn't even sell up here just because I wasn't too certain on what the day was trying to do. However, I was more comfortable taking a long position near the lows today because the market had been higher, and we had brung value from unchanged to overlapping to higher. We had gotten the overnight high, and buyers had a lot going for them early on in the day, and we had slowed down the one-time framing down from a daily standpoint by taking out the previous day's high. So when we got near the lows, not only were we near the lows, but we were also near our overnight low, right? We're looking at a 10-minute chart right now. Something I've been kind of experimenting with, and I've been liking kind of a little bit more than the 15-minute chart. But looking here, we look at all this volume we did here, right? All this volume was right around where the overnight low was at 42.25, and then settlement was at 42.38.25. The low from settlement was 42.38. So that's where my stop was going to be. That was also, if you look here, that 42.38 or 42.38 to 42.36 level was where this massive buy tail, right? I want yesterday. I said buyers want to defend 4225 to 4200 essentially. So I felt like because the market had already gotten the overnight high early on in the day, and we had all this volume up here, we had point of control that was up here, things of that nature, I was comfortable taking a long against this high volume node and against the overnight low, because odds favor us only taking out one side of the overnight session, right? You either take out the overnight high or you take out the overnight low. Rarely do you take out both sides of the overnight. And today we proved that as we got the overnight high, came down to the overnight low and could not take it out. That's where I got involved. I seen us kind of holding here. So I bought around 44. And actually, I initially bought on the way down around 42.50. And then it pulled back a little bit more, and I added to my position. Had a 3 lot on at the time. Bought 2 more down at 44. It popped back up to 52, and I got out of my position. I was looking for the single prints to fill. I had a feeling because we were down here, and if we couldn't hold trend early on in the day up, I wasn't expecting us to hold trend on the way down. And especially if we couldn't get the overnight low, volume was kind of drying up. Another thing I was looking at was the 1 minute chart as well. At the time, we were kind of hovering around that second standard deviation. On the low side, we had been above it, and we were kind of hovering around this area. So I was like, you know what? I don't think this market really wants to go trend. And if you look at the standard deviations, you see they're all sideways. It's no real trend down or up. So I was like, you know what? This market at least has a good opportunity to go back and test the single prints and at least get into them, if not fill them. And I was proven right. And matter of fact, I almost bought the low. And if I would have held it for anything, I would have done really well as we grinded back up. All the shorts that pushed down in F and G period, and even in H, they got stopped out. And then this market really began to kind of grind back higher and resume what it was trying to do earlier in the day, right? Before the shorts got out, or shorts started to pile in. So they trapped a bunch of buyers up here, trapped a bunch of sellers down here, and this market grinded back up. So today we just kind of go out with our low of day and then our high of day, which is at 42.8350. Now, one thing I do want to note here on our 30-minute chart is not only how we can't get back into that upper distribution so far from Friday, where we made that big move down, right? We have this sell tail here, and then we have this massive buy tail down here. And if you kind of look at it as a support and resistance, right? You got support, and then you got resistance. So you're just kind of chopping between this area here until one or the other kind of gives. And right now, since we got up here nearest that upper distribution and that sell tail, we rolled over, and then we came near that buy tail, bounced back. So we're just going to continue to chop here until something changes. But keep in mind how close we got today, all right, to that set of single prints and couldn't fill them. So buyers really aren't that strong. They did accomplish one thing today, not the biggest feat, but they accomplished one thing, and that was put the daily back into a initial 3-day balance, is what I'm going to call it. And we'll look at that on a larger time frame. We'll look at the daily, and then we'll look at the weekly, just kind of recap how this outside week down scenario is kind of unfolding. So here's our high of day. We're going to go ahead and mark our high of day, and I've already got our low of day marked. So once I get these marked, we'll go over some scenarios. Let me unhighlight that. Ignore the big spike after the market close. That was earnings from Microsoft and Google. Microsoft, I believe, shot up pretty good. I think like 6%, something like that. Anyway, so if we open up inside of today's range, okay, if we open up inside today's range, just expect a whole lot more chop. All right. I most likely will not trade tomorrow if we open up inside the day's range and do not come out of it. Because we are in a balance, and I tend to do worse when we are in some type of balance. So if this market can get above 4280, look to hold or get into the single prints and fill them at 8725, and look to hold within that 4287 to 4300. If we can get above 430225, this market will one time frame up, and then you'll look to attack the single prints above at 431325, 4315, and then a vacuum to the upside at 436650. Okay. Now keep in mind, this is where we had that big change, and that led to the market kind of rolling over pretty good. However, if we do resume one time framing up, get above 4300, that is going to be your next large destination, 436650 level. However, if this market cannot get above 4280 to 4287 and hold above it, this market is likely to roll over and visit the lows of 4242, and then get into this buy tail that starts at 4236. And then your next destination would be 4213, 25, 4200, and then 4178, June's low back from earlier this year. Now let's go ahead and look at the larger time frame real quick. We'll look at the weekly. Look at the weekly. So this is the weekly within that monthly balance. We had broken it, couldn't find acceptance back into that monthly balance. We end up with an outside week down scenario. Let's go ahead and look at what that weekly balance looks like. So here's that weekly balance that we were discussing in yesterday's video. Weekly balance was 44.19 to 42.51. So we took out that, resulting in an outside week down. We took out last week's low this week, yesterday, came into this massive buy tail on the daily from, what is that? 42.22 to 41.78. So that is, that's the area that we made, change kind of took place. That's where all that strong buy pressure came into the market and drove this market up. So I'm kind of wanting to see, do we hold here on the daily and on the weekly time frame? Do we hold here within this 4200 level and then finally get some feet, get some kind of ground beneath us and start to kind of grind this thing back up? If we do, maybe we have a small range this week, and the outside week down fails, and we put ourselves back into a balance come next week, which would be a rather large 3-week balance, right? Or do we not find acceptance back above 4250, 4300? This market continues to roll over, and we go back and test 4178, and then ultimately getting down to 4114 or the 4100 level, and then 4000 would be your next level on the downside. And that's what buyers don't want to see. That is kind of worst case scenario. Now keep in mind, on a weekly time frame, you are setting lower highs and lower lows. Same thing on the daily. If you are blind to that scenario here, lower highs, lower lows, you might need to start looking at the bigger picture just a little bit more. So that's our weekly time frame. Let's go ahead and look at the daily. Here's the daily looking within that weekly balance that we had broken out of. You can see how we came down, touched that area, got back up, put ourselves back into a 3-day balance. Now we need to go ahead and adjust our 3-day balance. Since we broke out of this larger balance up here, we've been one time framing now 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row. On the 5th day, we finally came back into a balance. And look at this, we're chopping around the 200-day moving average, which is right at 42.6750, right around that area. So do we hover around this 42.60 level for quite some time? 42.80 to 4200, find acceptance above the 200-day moving average, begin to one time frame up on the daily time frame, back test the 20 potentially at 43.30. It's a good possibility. That's what buyers want to see, right? If not, then, if we push up to near that 4300 level, can't get above it, your next destination ultimately, right? There are 2 rules when it comes to balance rules. You either get near a balance high and break it, or there's 3 really. Get near a balance high, break through, and never look back. get near balance high, stretch it and come back in, or get near balance high and then roll back over and test the other side of that balance. So those are the three scenarios, right? Let's go ahead and update this this balance range here. 1325 is going to be your balance low. Balance low. And then your balance high is going to be 4302. 4302.25. Fucking type. So that's what your daily balance is looking like. Expect a lot of chop. A lot of chop within this range, 4,300 to 4,200. Whole lot of chop until we come out of balance one way or the other. This market is rather short. Is this just a rest period where we roll back over, or will we start to get some steam and push back up higher? All of the shorter moving averages are moving lower, right? They're kind of trending lower. We have that series of lower highs and lower lows kind of setting up on the daily time frame as well. Moving averages are trending lower. 200s kind of creeping up a little bit. Are they all going to converge and then we, consolidate on a larger time frame and boom, get our explosion going into the next year? It's a good possibility. All that is speculation. You never know. I enjoy kind of thinking about the future and what could this market do, kind of seeing it, right? But with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all had a wonderful day. Wear your hard hats out there, use stops, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. See you.